you from the mountains of western North Carolina. This past year, my husband and I moved from Houston. We were native Houstonians all of our lives, I guess, until just this past year, and we are enjoying God's beauty out here now. I want to thank Suzanne Ricketts and She Is Ministries for doing this Women's March. I love it every year because I believe that our testimonies, women's testimonies, actually give hope. And to me, I think, man, who isn't in need of a little hope sometimes? But when Suzanne asks me to do this, pretty much just every year, my mind goes to the word restoration. And I know my friends down in Houston are really feeling this word right now, because the last few weeks I know that they've had the abnormal freeze, and with that their homes have been affected by busted pipes and flooding and things like that. So restoration is pretty much on the minds of everyone down in Texas. My son is a partner in a restoration company, and he goes into homes and restores them, and he's quite busy right now. So that's one kind of restoration that kind of is in the forefront of a lot of people's minds right now, especially down in that area. But restoration to me initially has been the last 6 years how God has really restored me. He's restored my heart, He's restored my thoughts, He's restored me to Him. He's done so much that I'm so grateful for, but He's also restored lots of other things like my marriage. He's restored my family, and those things are, again, just very, very important to me. But one of the things that I think about when I think about restoration and how He restored me and my heart, y'all, my husband left, and he left for a couple of years back in 2015. And that was a really rough 2 years for me. But when he left, man, I was so broken, and there was so much worthlessness that I felt during that time. And I guess I probably decided that my worth was linked to being a wife, linked to my husband. And God really got a hold of me at that time, and He taught me that that's not where my worth comes from. My worth comes from Him. Now, it took Him quite a long time. It took Him a couple of years to really get that instilled into my heart and into my soul, really. That now it's just second nature. And you know, that worthlessness that comes from not knowing whose you are is intense, because when things happen like my husband leaving, I didn't know where to turn. So God really got a hold of me, and He loved me through that. He taught me that I was a daughter of a king. It's pretty emotional to me because, man, that's amazing to think about, guys, that you really are a daughter of a king. Sorry. Anyway, I'm sorry. But so when you really get a hold, or when He really gets a hold of you, and you start to learn those truths about who you are in Him, you start to become more confident in just the ways around you, because you know that when you put your foot forward, and when you start to walk in something, that He's right there with you, and He's got you, and He will never forsake you. So that is just an intense feeling when he really gets a hold of you like that. But I don't know that if I wouldn't have gone through the storm that I went through, that I would have actually ever learned that and it to be cemented into my thoughts. But that restoration that I talked about, of me and then my husband leaving, another restoration that he promised me was that my marriage and my family would be restored. It took 2 years, and sometimes we tried on our own strength, meaning God was not in the middle of the restoration. But after about 2 years, he finally decided, I guess it was time. And when God restores, y'all, he restores better than we could ever have imagined. So, yes, my marriage is restored. Yes, my family is restored, because the entire storm took out my entire family, just like kind of a hurricane comes ashore and wipes out tons of homes and things like that. It didn't just touch me and my husband, it destroyed my entire family. And so I have seen the restoration that he has promised me with my family. My children have been restored to us, to this family. My brother, my sister, my mother-in-law, my in-laws, my father-in-law. Everything has been restored, and I watched it, guys. I watched it in living color, but it was a promise that he made to me. He made to me a promise, and he asked me to publicly display that promise, and that promise came in a scripture. That was Isaiah 61:3, and it said, "They will all be called oaks of righteousness." So I displayed this publicly on the wall of a business that I had, and he told me that that promise was for my family. And y'all, I watched it, and I watched it happen, and his promises are real, and if he has promised something to you, he will fulfill that promise. It is our job to stand firm, to wait, to love, to learn, to let him restore us, to let him restore our hearts, to love us back to life. And then, when it's his time, all that restoration happens. So I watched the restoration of my marriage. I watched the restoration of my husband. My husband become a man of God, things that I had prayed about a man of integrity, a man who would lead his family. Those things I got to watch after God did that restoration of myself, of my marriage. I get to watch him do that for my husband. I got to watch my whole family become restored. I got to watch that promise that he made come to fruition. And he promised that they would all be called oaks of righteousness. Guys, I'm still waiting. I'm still standing in that promise. I have 2 sons that are not walking with the Lord, and that promise has been made to me, and I will stand and I will trust that that will happen. Y'all, he showed me that he could be trustworthy. He showed me that he was true to his word. So I know that it's already finished. It's already done. And I'm just standing and I'm waiting for that for that to come to fruition. When he promised me that they would be called oaks of righteousness, he promised me that they would all be called oaks of righteousness. So I'm still waiting, and I'm still standing in that gap for my children, and I'm honored to do so. And I thank you for your time. So I just want to close by saying, if you are waiting for restoration, guys, know that what he did for me, he will do for you, because he is not a respecter of persons. So I can't wait to hear your testimonies too, because I know the goodness of our God. So thank you, guys. Y'all have a great rest of your day, and enjoy the rest of the women in March.